Hey everyone, it's Kyle, Azora Hype. Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope you all have had a fantastic week so far. Today, I am joined here by my lovely co-host, Helen, and we are going to discuss episode 4 of The Mandalorian. What's going on, Helen?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I literally just watched it a few hours ago. And I just saw this episode one time. I think all the others at least I saw twice. So forgive me if I didn't catch up, but I was gone for the weekend. So if I don't know everything, if I don't know all the Easter eggs and everything, mea culpa.
Well, I watched the episode a few times, so
Good.
I can help. I can help there. Of course, I'm saying happy Sunday, but this will be released on Monday. So happy Monday to all of you, and hopefully you'll have a fantastic start to your week. Today, we're going to talk about the 4th episode. We're already halfway through the season, Helen. It's gone by fairly quickly so far, and I really enjoyed all the episodes so far. We just had a little bit of a chat before the podcast about our thoughts in the episode, but let's just kind of give our impressions on it, because we've had a first episode. We had the pilot where we had multiple plot points, which was great, kind of giving backstory in the Mandalorian and the Empire and all that. Then the second episode, we kind of had a side quest, like an RPG side quest with Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. Then the third episode, we had more of the same, which we got in the first episode, like multiple plot points. And then this episode, we got the same kind of thing, a side quest. So kind of alternating each episode. There's been kind of like this theme that's been going on each episode. What did you think overall in episode 4? What were your thoughts in the episode?
Well, I felt like the first 3 are more connected. They felt like a movie in themselves that's just literally split up for advertising breaks or something. And this one felt like out of the 3 we saw so far, which is not a negative. I'm not saying that's negative. It just, the planet looked completely different. Everything was green. The music was different. The vibe was different. It was way more personal. And the tone and the pacing and everything was a bit different than the first 3, but I'm not good, no bad. It was just different.
Yeah, the first 3 kind of fit nicely into a first act, I guess you could say, for the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And this is the transition kind of now, because we will get 3 more, right? So
and then the season finale.
And then finale, yeah.
So this one was really interesting. This episode really had Seven Samurai vibes. For those of you who know, Akira Kurosawa was a huge influence on George Lucas, and Seven Samurai, also a Magnificent Seven, of course. Classic Western movies. People have been talking about that kind of vibe going through the Mandalorian, and we see kind of some of the same plot points through this episode. And really, honestly, there's striking similarities, because we get the Mandalorian coming to the planet after we see the Klatooinian raiders raiding the fishing village of Sorgon, the backwater fishing village. So I found that really interesting. We got kind of that vibe going on through the episode. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, it was a bit different. I like the new aliens, whatever. Quatinium Raiders. I just called them Raiders, which, by the way, for everybody who played Shadows of Mordor, one of the best games ever. I love it. And like the orcs in Shadows of Mordor, these raiders reminded me, also the stuff, the glowing stuff they were drinking and then fighting. And it was very much like Shadows of Mordor vibe. But yeah, I like the beginning, I like that it was not the Mando shown in the beginning, but you were shown and dropped into a whole other conflict, a new planet, new people. That was cool.
Yeah, we get the introduction to one of the strong female characters. We haven't had very much of that so far. The character by the name of Omira, or Ormera. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Played by Julia Jones. She's been in a few different things, including Westworld and Twilight.
Mm.
And yeah, it was really interesting to see. She
Twilight.
yeah, Twilight, but
What?
she's the leader of this village, and we find out much more about her after we kind of get that cold open into a different part of the galaxy where we see things are similar, even though there is this kind of planet that is maybe a little bit less affected by the conflict of the galactic war that we are seeing in the Star Wars universe. But we still see some of the similarities
Mm.
from all of the different stuff that happens in the Star Wars universe, such as Raiders and
Purgings. Yeah.
yeah, and all that. So I found that really interesting, and that's part of the episode that I actually really enjoyed too. Like you said, the pacing was a little bit different in this episode, but it shows
Mm.
that and you know the character of Omira, she obviously has a past that we don't know about. Hopefully they will explore her story a little bit more in the future, but we find out that there's a lot more than just her beauty. And you know, this widow perhaps could have been, you know, an Imperial soldier. So some people are saying stormtroopers on
Yeah.
the internet. I'm thinking maybe more Rebel Alliance, you know what I mean? Because when they're training the villagers uh after the sacking from the Raiders, we see
Mm.
she's the one who actually knows how to shoot a weapon quite proficiently. So I found that really interesting. But yeah, there was immediately a connection between her and the Mandalorian, which I found. I mean, with that with his helmet on, there was just this great connection between the two characters.
Yeah. So, but that was one of the points I didn't like. So that they didn't explain. I mean, she was again, I don't like the characters who are perfect and everything, and you don't get an explanation why. So, why was she such a good shooter? Yes. Now we are speculating. Maybe she was a rebel. What I would like way more if she was with the Empire. Because, like I said before, not everybody can be the good guy because this is what could play in here. Like, I mean, he doesn't like the Empire, right? Empire killed his family, blah blah. But there are many people, like I said many times, that fought for the Empire and thought this is a good cause, because bad is not always bad and good is not always good. It depends on who you are, which planet you live on, and
The circumstances,
in
yeah.
the circumstances, exactly. And the Empire probably did some good things for some people, giving them jobs or whatever. It was not everything was bad. And what I would like, if like her backstory maybe is she fought for the Empire, or I don't know, or she worked for the Empire in some sort of role or whatever, because that's how she fed her family or her village or whatever, or her husband was a fighter and for the Empire or something like that. That would be so cool, because I don't want everybody to
Or
be
the
a
wife
good
of a
guy
chief
and
or something like that,
yeah,
or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, and
It would make sense because she knew quite a bit about the Mandalorian and his helmet and kind of
yeah,
their culture. So I found
yeah,
that
yeah.
really interesting as well.
And I think she knew exactly what an ATST was, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't talk about it, but I think most of the villagers were like, "Oh, this is like a really bad machine." I think she exactly knew, because they asked. I think again, I just saw it once, but I think they asked, "Oh, and you didn't tell us about this thing?"
There
Um,
was definitely a caveat in their contract
yeah,
because,
yeah,
well, I mean, we get introduced to Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, and she's like, whoa,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
we end up meeting her, and they end up kind of making a deal. Let's actually backtrack to that a little bit and go back to the start of the episode.
yeah.
We get some really cute moments between. Oh
God.
my god! Isn't it like the cutest thing in the universe? Can everybody that's listening to the podcast just agree that Baby Yoda is the best? Like Baby Yoda 2020, President of the United States. Can we just vote for that? The
Make
world
it
would be a
happen.
much better place.
Make it happen, people. As soon as the merch is out, please drop Baby Yodas on us. No, yeah, it was really cool. And you saw the way he was with him. Like normally he always dragged him on the collar, right? And like put him somewhere. And now he took him in his arm, and it was way more like they
Tender.
bonded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. And like
He said
literally when he said stay on the ship and he was next to him.
so one of the things that I really liked was Stop touching things was very much a dad thing to say. But then
Yeah.
he says, "Oh, we're gonna go lay low for a couple of months, you little womp rat." And that's the thing that Luke is shooting. Remember when he's
Oh,
so
yeah,
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, yeah.
so great connection there. There was actually a lot of that. There was a lot of references to Return of the Jedi
Yeah.
uh, throughout this episode. But I found that really funny because there was a bunch of different alien species in this episode,
Mhm.
which we're going to talk about. But I found that really funny because it was totally a dad thing to say. You
Yeah.
little womp rat, like you little
Yeah.
brat. You know what I mean? Stop touching the buttons, like like a dad's mowing the lawn or something, and a kid's playing with a Nerf gun in the front yard,
Yeah.
like kind of getting in the way of things. I really love that, and it's so cute. You could tell he's becoming more tender and like patient
Mhm.
with this like little being. But yeah, I
Mhm.
love that moment too. You can see like this like just and then their walk too. The beautiful cinematography in the episode kind of
Yeah.
showcased the different perspectives of the two characters, how so tiny little Baby Yoda is, and them walking to the new cantina, which we're going to talk about in just a second. So I found that really cool too because it showcased like big man, little man kind of worlds
Mhm.
going on.
Yeah.
So then we actually get to the cantina and we see a loth cat, which is
Oh my god, I loved it.
wow. This scares the shit out of little Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, a lot of CGI, but still, it's so cute.
So yeah, I watched a bunch of Clone Wars yesterday, by the way. I
Yeah.
watched I think like
Good.
14 episodes.
What?
So
Okay. That's like a season almost.
I know. I'm
What
really
did you
into it
want?
now.
What season are you on?
I mean, there's like 20 in the first season or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, no, I watched a bunch of them and I really, really enjoyed it. Ashoka
Yeah.
and all the different characters. I'm enjoying that.
Mm.
But that is the Loth Cat is
Yeah.
something that you'll see in the animated series. So a lot of
Yeah.
people were really stoked about that, and I kind of jumped out of my seat when that happened. Actually, I kind of
And
got that little Loth Cat, but
she was
scaring me.
hissing at him, and he was like, "What?"
And so that was really funny. And then we finally meet Gina Carano's character, Helen, and
Yeah.
we actually learn quite a bit. She has
Yeah.
a little bit of backstory there. Let's talk about her.
Mhm. Well, first of all, I was very skeptical about her acting because I never was a big fan of her acting skills. I think they were okay here. They were not perfect, but they were okay. And obviously, come on, I mean, the fighting scenes, especially the end, when Baby Yoda was standing in front of them and they were laying on the floor with the guns to their head. That was straight out of Matrix, by the way, if
He's
you
just drinking the
remember.
soup. That was actually my favorite moment of the
Oh
whole
my
episode.
god. Yeah, but them both of them lying on the floor, after that epic fight, by the way, props to Gina. I don't think she has a stunt double on that.
Yeah, she's an
Um,
former
yeah,
MMA fighter. Yeah.
yeah. And when they were lying on the floor, it was like in Matrix with Neo and Agent Smith both pointing the gun, like laying on the floor, pointing the gun at each other's head. It was really cool. I
It was
think
almost
one.
like a mom-dad moment too. Like even though
Oh yeah,
we
when they
we
were
know,
fighting. Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing, mom and dad? And also throughout the internet, this meme is everywhere now. It's like
Yeah.
sipping my tea, Baby Yoda sipping my tea meme. Really, really funny. I saw some Christmas ones. There's a funny Baby Yoda meme. This is what my mom looks like when we're opening our presents on Christmas, like drinking coffee and stuff like that. So I saw some like the Baby Yoda is taking over the internet. But yeah, that was a great moment. We do see the Mandalorian take the initiative, kind of scout the area to make sure. Because, well, listen, he broke his contract with the Bounty Hunters Guild and
Mm,
pissed off the Empire. And chances are the Empire is getting things behind the scenes. And what we're really seeing is the beginning of the First Order getting their shit together. So
mm,
big trouble there. One bounty hunter and a little kid is no match for the amount of resources that the Empire probably still has. So I found that
yeah.
really interesting. That he kind of went and scouted the area, and then they kind of have their little fight. Well, they have a lot in common. Some I kind of had the vibe that they might have been like ex-wife and like husband. That was
Mm,
like they did have an interesting connection. But we find out quite a bit. We find out from Kara that she was a former shock trooper,
mhm,
and those they were very prevalent in the Battle of Endor, where we also
Yeah.
see ATSTs, which is
Yeah.
kind of an interesting connection too. So let's talk a little bit about that, her backstory.
Yeah, and the thing is, you get like, I think she must remember the Battle of Endor pretty well, and this is exactly how she trained the villagers, and her idea to trap the ATST, because she knows how these things operate and how you can bring them down, like the Ewoks did, you know. So yeah, she must be. Did we get a confirmation she was at Endor? I didn't know. I
No,
just thought,
but she makes a specific comment. She says there's nothing that can harm the legs of.
okay, yeah.
So it's clear that she, and I mean, she specifically said that, you know, that she was a shock trooper, and they would like, drop them in, and they would kind of like do their job.
Yeah.
But also one thing that was really prevalent in that was, you know, and like you can kind of tell from just the way she was talking, she was kind of like this Nazi hunter. She would hunt down and basically go after Imperial warlords. So that's really interesting. We're gonna get Moff Gideon in the final 4 episodes. We haven't had his inclusion yet. I thought we might get him this episode. So I think although we only get Cara Dune in this episode, she's definitely going to be a returning character. Because, I mean, at the end of the episode, they have that handshake and they say, until our paths cross again, which is basically like, hey, I'll see you again in the future. So
yeah, and there must be a bounty, because she thought he is after her and he's a bounty hunter. So she must know. So she must have done something. So there must be a bounty on her head, apparently. So what has she done? I don't think the Republic has really time to hunt down former soldiers who fled or who were disillusioned and want to do something else, which she is. So I think it has to do with the reminiscence of the Empire, or the new you know what I mean?
First Order.
The First Order, exactly. So I think they put a bounty on her head. I don't think it's the new.
Well, it was clearly there. I mean, the crosshairs were there on Baby Yoda, and we're like,
no, but she said no. But she said to the Mandalorian before Baby Yoda or anything happened, before the end of the episode, she thought he was after her, and she was like, "There's a bounty on my head." That feeling I got.
Well, you know what's really interesting too. The one thing that may have been missed by quite a few people is. We raised hell a few weeks back, so there's a little time jump, like this hidden time jump in the episode when Gina Carano's character Cara and the Mandalorian are having a conversation. So they're helping the village settle in again and kind of getting things fixed. And then the Mandalorian and Gina, she references like, hey, you could stay here with this beautiful widow and like build a life. And he's like, well, no, this isn't the place for me. He would be happy here. And then that's when we get that moment. So I found that really interesting too. It's a small little detail in their conversation that not a lot of people might have picked up on, but there is a 3 or like a few week time jump, at least. It seems like at the end of the episode from the events of what happened in the Battle of the Village. Really interesting too. Like I said, we get the training sequence, which is very much like what we would see in Seven Samurai. In Seven Samurai, defend. Yeah, it's the story of these 7 samurai. They defend a peaceful town from bandits. They're basically making it more difficult for them to get food and stuff like that. We kind of see the same kind of thing where they team up to make this plan where they ambush and attack the raiders and draw them into open field where they can be at an advantage at smaller numbers. So I found that really cool. I really enjoyed that part of the episode. And George Lucas, the original trilogy, there's a lot of different shots that inspired George Lucas in the original trilogy. And just like overall classic Westerns in general that kind of really inspired him and that were inserted into Star Wars. So it was cool to see Bryce Dallas Howard, who directed this episode, who did a great job, kind of insert that, that little thread that really has started since the beginning of Star Wars into The Mandalorian, making it kind of give that nostalgic feel. that we've had with the show so far.
Yeah, and but if you're watching Clone Wars, there is exactly the same, not exactly the same, but
Yeah.
Anakin, Ashoka, and I think Obi-Wan were in that one. It's a while ago, but immediately when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, I've seen
Yeah.
that in Clone Wars. And they were training villagers who are like, they are pirates who are like always coming to this village and taking all their crops and whatnot. I think they were farmers or
Yeah, this
something.
episode was inspired from that as well, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
But
it's
more references to Clone Wars. There's been a lot of
yeah,
Clone Wars
yeah.
references in The Mandalorian so far, too. So some other cool things. We do see a Twi'lek, some more alien races. We see them in the cantina, which is another interesting thing that we got. And one thing that I think that we should focus on for a few minutes, and I think it's one of the bigger reveals of the episode. We have the conversation between the Mandalorian and Omira, the Julia Jones character, and she brings him some food, and then she asks him the question like, "Hey, like, when have you taken off your helmet?" And I was starting to wonder, like, hey, does this guy even eat? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
with a straw or some astronaut's meal, like those liquid thingies or pills.
Yeah, so interesting. A lot of people were asking that question, and then we find out he says yesterday, but she, smartly says like, in front of someone else, and he says, and this is when we get the reveal that he hasn't taken off his helmet in front of someone else since he was a child, since he was saved by the Mandalorians, which gives us the confirmation that he was not born a Mandalorian. Helen, very big news.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought that from the beginning because, when you saw that his parents were hiding him, and this still, I think, will happen. The guy that saves him will be a Mandalorian in full armor.
Yeah.
And he will get adopted by one of the families there, one of maybe the lesser families, because he doesn't have I don't think he has a well-known
Not the
name.
Vizsla clan or something like
one
that.
of the clans we know exactly, or the Ren clan or any of those. Or Satine's family or whatever. And yeah, I think that will happen. But it was so cool. He told her, I've been wearing it since I was their age, like the little kids. How old were they? Like 7, 8?
No, maybe like 5, 6,
Yeah.
7. Yeah, they're in that range. They're really young.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, I found too, because we do see him, like, I mean, he says this is the way, which is, in reference to kind of the stricter policy that this specific group of Mandalorians has. But also we do see him take it off in front of the children when they're playing against Baby Yoda. And I can't help but wonder if with such a prestigious actor as Pedro Pascal, like he's just super well known now, he's been in Narcos, Game of Thrones, if we might not see him take it off at some point in the future. I think that, it could be like a last episode type of thing. Maybe he does, go to Sorgon on the last episode, and he does end up settling down with this widow or whatever. But I do have a feeling that he is going to be a Mandalorian without a helmet at some point. They're teasing, because it got referenced a few different times in this episode, and it really just kind of is a gut feeling for me. I think it's going to happen. But what are your thoughts on that, Helen? Because he does take off the helmet, and I mean, like, the kids are going to see him without the helmet when he's eating, but they're kids, right? So, like, does that count? Exactly. I found that really interesting.
No, and it was super cool because I think that's like a human thing to eat, and I liked that.
Well, it is. We need sustenance to survive.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that he said, when I kind of said, when I push it off, I can't take it back. I can't put it back on. So that's basically settling down. If he takes the helmet off, he will settle down, and that is a bit of foreshadowing that he might do it one day. After season whatever, he might come back to the widow and settle there, and I don't know, they'll be happily ever after. But I don't think he's ready for that now. And this is still the way he owes the other Mandalorians. He still wants to get.
Well, I mean, he helped them. He helped them escape from the planet, right? I mean, like, Baby Yoda and him would have been dead if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, he owes them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he owes them, and he will be back with them, reunited with them, and there'll be a plot with them where he can help maybe the Vizsla guy or whatever, you know. But he owes them big time, and it's, I mean, then the episode or the season would be over. The end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
don't
it
know how
was
many
good.
seasons they're signed on for, but we
Yeah,
know
but
we're at least getting season 2.
yeah, but it was good. You know, I like the. We were talking about pacing before. And for me here, it was not my favorite episode, but because you know I love all the fighting scenes and
Yeah, the
the star
intensity.
star battles, and this is the stuff, and lightsaber fights and whatnot. This is the stuff I love in Star Wars. But I love because the pacing was perfect, because I didn't felt rushed. I mean, it was a bit of a longer episode, but I didn't felt rushed, and you still. But everything got, you know, they had their fight, they trained the villagers, he went to a new planet, the Baby Yoda thing he got resolved, he met a lovely widow, he met Cara Dune, but a lot happened, but still there were those quiet moments where he took off the helmet, where he had a personal conversation, where he bonded with Baby Yoda. And this is what Bryce Dallas Howard, or I mean, maybe it was the writing as well, but it was cool because you had all that in what,
Character
38
development.
minutes or 40 minutes. Yeah, so I love the pacing in this one, because you got everything and you had those quieter moments which were really cool.
Yeah, the Mandalorian did quite a bit more talking than he did in the previous episodes, which was interesting as well. Like we see the comfortability, of course, between him and Baby Yoda growing as well as they, begin to spend more time together. And, he understands that he's in this position, like no one else is caring for this child but him. So he feels a responsibility to this child too, because the same thing happened to him with the Mandalorians, right? So I think he feels kind of this obligation since someone did this for him. He's kind of paying it forward to this child. But the thing is like we still haven't had the reveal of someone's like letting him know that this is like a rare speed, like rare race, like alien race, and that part of the Yoda and Yaddle were Jedi. So I suspect that we're gonna learn more about that because Quill and the Mandalorian, they had that small discussion, which could set up later, a bigger discussion on when they, actually have an open discussion about the Force in the show. And I think that at some point we're going to see that, you know what I mean, where the Mandalorian is caring for this child, but where the stakes become much higher. You know what I mean? Yeah, the stakes are high right now, but the stakes are going to get higher for sure.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we will see a Jedi. I'm pretty sure. I think you said that last time. We will see a Force user, however, whenever, but we'll see that because that would be the only person who can really take care and educate Baby Yoda.
Or even point out that this is a Force user feeling the Force
Exactly.
within another being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't have to be. I mean, Dr. Pershing, it doesn't have the Force. I mean, the Force is within all.
But they had information on the child, though,
they had
right?
information, and he had all his machines and everything. But still,
Google.
Google.
They had their own version of Google on Baby Yoda, the internet. I wonder how internet works in this galaxy, by the way. No, that's another rabbit hole that we need to get down to in another episode. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the pacing in this episode too, Helen. I've really enjoyed each episode. I felt like each episode was kind of its own little story, but they are starting to connect a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like I said, we did get the Mandalorian opening up a little bit more. He was ready to leave. You know what I mean? He's like, no, this isn't enough money for me. Yeah. And then we see him make another decision again to help people that need it. You know what I mean? They're like, listen, we're farmers. We need your help. And he's helping people again. So he's doing good again.
Yeah, but then again, I think they're paying him, right? And he literally now has to take any job he can get because he can't work for the guild anymore.
Yeah.
So he has to take these little shitty jobs on unknown planets for, I think
as a freedom fighter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he it was good intentions, but I think he also did it for the money as well because he has to survive somehow.
Yeah, I mean, support him and his son. Yeah. I love it when she says that you and your son can stay here, and I'm like, oh my god,
yeah. Like she's not even questioning how could that be his son. Like, okay, the little green puppet. He looks exactly. He has got your eyes. I mean, I can't see your eyes, but he
He's
clearly
got
has
your
your
hair.
eyes.
I can't see it
Yeah.
over your helmet, but he's got your hair.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about, we got the ATST, which is cool, which is a throwback.
Yay. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that? Okay, because
Yeah.
I love Jurassic Park, and
Yeah.
who played in the last Jurassic Park movies? Obviously, Bryce
Bryce
Dallas
Dallas
Howard has
Howard. Yeah.
one of the main roles there. She's the main protagonist. And then this thingy showed up out of the woods, right? And it looked like a effing T-Rex
Right.
coming to the, like, it looked like a T-Rex. Come on, with the feet and everything, even the shape and the look of this. Obviously, she didn't invent it. That
Yeah.
ATST was there before, but like the scene was a
Same vibe.
lot. Yeah, the scene was a lot like Jurassic Park, and I mean, her being an actress there was kind of okay, but it was amazing with the red eyes. God.
I really love that the Mandalorian, with Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau so far. We got Deborah Chow, we got Bryce Dallas Howard, Taika Waititi. They each kind of take their own inspiration from other, movies and television shows and other projects. So, like whether it's books or manga or comics, they've kind of taken their inspiration and they each, and they each kind of thread them throughout their episode that they direct. I really enjoyed that because there's clear influences that we can see. Like I spoke about the Seven Samurai earlier. That's a clear connection that George Lucas had many, many, many ages ago. He collects old Westerns and stuff like that. So that's something that, has been talked about for a long, long time. But this is really interesting because it's true. She is part of, there's going to be one more Jurassic Park movie and she's going to be in it. And this is just a nod to the first Jurassic Park and like the iconic, and this is some of the, obviously Star Wars, when it first came out, is like, yes, this is the beginning of a new type of movie, CGI and stuff like that. It kind of really set the bar for how movies were going to be made for the future. But Jurassic Park kind of did that for when it came out too. We got the T-Rex and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see that nod in this episode too. I found that connection was really awesome.
Yeah, and the good thing is because I'm not always a fan of different directors, just saying J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson, yeah.
But the thing is, here, I feel like everybody understands the main protagonist. They have the same understanding, and they just build other worlds or other stories surrounding that protagonist or those protagonists. So that is really cool. And although they're very different people, from like Taika Waititi, he's isn't he not from Australia? He's from New Zealand, I think, right? Yeah. And like all these people from all over the world, those directors with different backgrounds, they bring their own stories in there, which is so cool, and their own styles. I mean, it's a different style for each episode as well, but it kind of fits because you have a red line you can follow with a protagonist because their story is consistent, and you always think this is the same Mandalorian like in the first episode, which he learns and he upgrades his armor and everything, but you still feel it's the same person. And this was my problem. I'm sorry, I'm going back to it, but this was my problem with, for example, the Last Jedi or the prequels, because you felt, wait a moment, this is not Luke, wait a moment, this is not, and that was my problem. But here the story and the plot changes, but the character doesn't. Obviously the character evolves, but it doesn't fundamentally change, and that's what I like. And yeah, that's good.
This actually, I really love what you said about the building of different stories around the Mandalorian, and I think this is a testament to how great of an actor Pedro Pascal is and what they're doing with the character, because the way he's emoting through without facial expression and really not a lot of dialogue, easily understandable by seeing someone's face and how they're feeling and how they're reacting, is really great in my opinion. So yes, I would love for him to take off the helmet, but if it doesn't happen, I am confident that they can still continue to be successful with what they're doing because they understand how to, get body language and posture and kind of all of that around into just how the character expresses itself. Yeah. So and that's one thing that was done great in this episode too, because we do see him we do see the affection
Mm.
And now the love that he cared for this kid already, like he's like, yeah, like the kid will get over it, you know what I mean? He'll be happy here. Like him
Mm.
thinking about someone else and understanding how he felt himself when he was a child. So
Mm.
I was really loved that about this episode specifically, and I thought that was a great point that you brought up.
Yeah, and that's a good thing about TV, you know, you have more time to develop a character. And obviously in a cinematic movie, even if it's three movies, but you still don't have that time. Plus, you have way more characters. Here, you don't have that many main characters. And that's cool. And that makes it so much easier. And I think this is why we're bonding, because we're getting a lot more info. And this is why my hopes for Obi are so, because
Oh,
all of us want to know more about that character we feel for. This is what, why do people want an Boba Fett movie? Because it was at that time that character was so different, so cool. You've never seen that kind of armor. He was a bad guy, but then what's his you know, why were people screaming for a movie? Because they wanted to know more. And here in TV, you have the chance to give your audience that. And I think this is why people love the Mandalorian.
yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, obviously people have been a bit down since the new trilogy has come out. That's safe to say. People have been arguing like crazy. And I'm just gonna go on a limb and say I think that people are gonna probably have a similar reaction that they had to The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker.
I
Um,
don't think so.
you don't think so? I don't know. I have it's I think it's gonna be split right down the middle
Yeah.
because specifically of the character of Rey. I think people are it's gonna be because like listen, she's not gonna die. She's surviving the series.
Mm.
Um, but you know, the
Maybe they can.
Mandalorian seems to have a clear path. They have people that really understand what they want to do specifically with the series.
Yeah.
And we know that first, like I said, we talked about this a little bit earlier, that we for sure we're no at least getting a second season. So there's a specific amount of time for the story that they want to tell. And I thought Aziz made a great point, brought this up in our last podcast. Aziz from History of Westeros, he said, you know, when this happens, it's great because you don't have a cliffhanger at the end of a season, like, you know, a last
Mm.
episode where
Yeah.
you're like, you don't know like the anticipation if we're getting another season or not. So I think that that's so important to know that it's like, okay, we're dedicated to making this amount of story and we're going to
Yeah.
be able to tell it or whatever. So I think that, you know, obviously that's a strength. And you know, Disney Plus has the money. I mean, Disney has the money to do as much as they want. They got loads of it. I think they had five $1 billion movies this year, so they're gonna have another one with the sixth one with the Rise of Skywalker. That's for sure.
Yeah, it will be successful, and because it's the end of a saga, right?
Yeah,
But again, that brings, like you say, I mean, that brings a lot of, I mean, everybody's like I said in the last episode we recorded with Aziz, everybody feels entitled.
yeah,
Either the prequel kids who grew up with the prequels, they feel entitled to certain characters. Then we, as the, I mean, kind of in between, I was not we were not born when the original ones were out, but still I kind of also feel entitled about those ones. And I mean, now this is the end. This should round up 9 or 8 movies. That's crazy. So everybody has their expectations. People have been, like us, been speculating since 2 years. This is the same like the Snoke thing, you know? Why was the Snoke thing so horrible for everybody? Because we've been speculating 2 years, who is Snoke? And then
yeah.
nothing. And
It's the
that's the,
same thing for the final season of Game of Thrones, right? The
yeah,
YouTubers kept the hype alive because we had
yeah,
that 18 months
yeah.
between the last season. People were watching theory videos and,
Yeah.
speculation videos and
Yeah,
podcasts
and you
trying
made
to get
out the
their
movie in
information.
your head. Yeah, and you made it in your head, and then it wasn't like you expected, and then obviously we're humans, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Ugh. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, if you had to grade the episode, you said you were down a little bit down in this one as opposed to the other
Yeah,
three. What would you grade it? Like a 7 or something?
yeah, 7. Yeah,
That's fair. I think I would give it an 8. I really,
yeah.
I still thought the pacing was great. I
The
do like these
pacing.
little RPG side quests, like these video game side
Yeah,
quests.
yeah.
I still think, I wonder how many of how many more of these we'll get this season. I think because like they got to start to focus on the more like they got to start to up the stakes a little bit. I think
Yeah, they need to bring in the Empire now, like the real threat. Like
I think Moff Gideon is 100% coming in the next episode, right?
Exactly. Like those raiders, they are not the real threat. You know, this was a filler enemy, right? So
it's
now
just kind of the calm before the storm, so to speak.
Yeah, and even those 3-4 stormtroopers we saw, that was not the reminiscent of the Empire. Now the big guns need to come in, and yay, looking forward to that. And who will help him? Because at the moment, I mean, he could have had a cool crew. He could have Cara. I think she would have come with him probably if he would ask her.
Yeah.
And Quill. Okay, he didn't want to.
Do we have a Guardians of the Galaxy situation with Quill and Cara and all these different characters?
Like, you know, he's maybe, I think my bet is at the end of the season, he will have his crew. Because I don't know, I feel this ship needs to be loaded with people. And yeah, I want kind of, like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy.
You little womp rat.
Yeah, that would be cool. And I think he sees more and more that he can't do, especially take care of Baby Yoda alone, and he accepts help more, I think, now. Even though
that's a really great prediction, Helen. I think
yeah.
that you might be right. We might be getting a crew, and like it would totally be like Guardians of the Galaxy, because like you got like a little like Rocket Raccoon is like, you know, small, and then we get this like big hulking person like Dave, but like, you know, Drax. We got Gina Carano, who's just like, you know, great fighter, and then of course we got Star-Lord and the Mandalorian. I kind of really like that. I'm gonna drop that. I think I'm gonna drop that in a video this week.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, the stakes got to be higher. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. There was a lot of great Easter eggs that we can just go over and over in this episode, I think, really honestly, and just continue to talk about. But I think, you know, the main moments, like the connections between the characters, were really like tender and sweet, and like there's just so many cute moments, like with Baby Yoda. It's just like every time, like at the end of the episode when they're saying goodbye and the kid's giving Baby Yoda a hug. Like when you know, the Baby Yoda's eating the frog and all the kids are laughing.
Yeah, and he was sitting at that cart wheel that drives them out then at the end, and he was looking at them with his big eyes.
I know, it was so sad, right?
I told my husband, please get me that door. He was like, what is that even? And I was like, it's out. I want a Funko, I want a shirt, I want this, I want this. He's like, you're obsessed.
Wipe my Christmas list, all Baby Yoda, all Baby Yoda, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I mentioned in the last podcast, I'm like, hey, so my birthday's in July, but I'd like to move up my request. But 8 months for my gifts. So yeah, I really enjoy it. It's like I give it an 8, you give it a 7.
Yeah.
I enjoyed episode 3 more for sure. I think that like I love the Mandalorian history aspect of it, but I did enjoy kind of this side quest. And this, like I said, this is kind of the calm before the storm, because I do think you know, like this is the little slice of life that they could have had. You know what I mean? They're kind of setting us up for, and I'm wondering, you know, if they're setting us up for some sort of heartbreak. I don't think that, by the way, Baby Yoda, a little bit of a spoiler, is going to be in season 2. So I don't know if it's get kidnapped or it's going to be with the Mandalorian or whatever. We could see a situation where, you know, somehow it gets taken or something like that, but it will be in season 2. Ryan Johnson was the one who actually spilled the beans on that a little bit, because because Ryan Johnson was on set for season 2. I believe.
But is it confirmed that he'd be a director, or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not, if he's going to be a director, but he was on set for season 2.
Okay, good.
And he has a great new movie that just came out called Knives Out. Really, really good. With Daniel Craig, another great, fantastic cast.
He's a good storyteller. Don't get me wrong. He's a good storyteller. His visuals are amazing. Like literally, which
I think would be great for the Mandalorian, honestly, because the cinematography is fantastic. This is more Ryan Johnson's alley, I think. Like, you know, the movie Looper, for example. Like that's something that can be a little bit more like the Mandalorian. You know what I mean? For the storytelling aspect of it. Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm really looking forward to next week. I had the episode synopsis somewhere. I don't know where it is now.
I think he's finding another bounty hunter, helping out another bounty hunter.
Yeah, it's helping another bounty hunter. So it's going to be another situation where we're introduced into another character,
Yeah.
and there's kind of like it's going to be interesting to see because, like you said, he's got to take some jobs, make some cash, got to get some more calamari credits. Uh, but I do think that's kind of like what's going to be going on with the first season until like we might see this convergence of characters in the last episode, like you said, and then kind of this crew being assembled. And then the second season, we see kind of more like, them all together instead of the Mandalorian just going kind of on this like singular missions. And then there's more of like this like episodic, because this is the first season, right? They're setting up a lot of things. We don't know how many seasons we're going to get, but I'm assuming that there's going to be quite a few, like 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, this is not. It's like like I said, something like
what the massive success it's been having. Oh my God, bigger than Stranger Things. Already the most downloaded television show in history, I believe. So
yeah. Well, I think the Cassian Andor will be like 1 or 2 seasons, and then you have to end because then you get to Rogue One, right? So I think there you don't get that many seasons, and I think
same with Obi-Wan. It's only going to be like 1 season.
Yeah, Obi will be a limited one, maybe then longer ones. I assume like they might be an hour-ish then because it's limited. That's what I guess.
Yeah.
But this one, you can. I mean, there's no limit. Sky's the limit here. As long as it's successful.
Oh my God, Baby Yoda, like of course they know before the holidays, like this is going to be a thing. I don't think they did it specifically just for that. Of course, I mean, look at the success of Baby Groot, for example. You know what I mean? Like that was something that's really popular, but this is way bigger than that. I think so. Just really interesting to see where they're going to be taking it. And I think that, the future is really bright. For the Mandalorian, and I'm just super excited because I like just like even like the smallest little details, like the loth cat, stuff like that. Just Spotchka, things that are discussed through the Star Wars universe that they're kind of including. It's just really awesome. So what are you looking most forward to in the next episode, Helen?
Yeah, like I said, I want the real baddies now to come in. I want Werner Herzog's boss to show up. I want
to give him a scolding. Like,
I want to see all the fractions. I want to see what is like. Why were they hunting for? Maybe not in the next one, like a resolution for why are they hunting Baby Yoda, but still bring the baddies now.
We could see. What would kind of be cool is if we get like a cold open, like 10 minutes to the other side, like. Moff Gideon and follow him around. You know what I mean? I could see that happening, where we get like kind of an introduction to that, and then we're like, can kind of get introduced to the the main antagonist, because we haven't really had a main antagonist yet. And when you get an actor like Giancarlo Esposito, we've been talking about this, picking up these actors and actresses like Gina Carano, like Julia Jones, who have had significant roles in other projects, and kind of just putting them in one episode. Like Nick Nolte's, like, we get Quill, but he's going to be in another episode again for sure. So I think that when you get a guy like Giancarlo Esposito who's on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and other big projects, you're not just going to use him for a couple of episodes. So really excited for episode number 5. This is really, really fun, Helen. Another great episode of The Mandalorian. Of course, if you haven't checked out Helen's channel, she does amazing Lord of the Rings videos. She's appeared on other channels. Of course, she's one of my YouTube besties. She's one to Con of Thrones and part of our Game of Thrones community, moderator on the channel as well. But what's next?
Friend.
What's that?
And also a real life friend.
Yeah, and not just an internet friend. We've actually hung out twice. Now, once in London, England, where I almost died, and also in Nashville. Thanks, Gina. So Helen, where can we find all your stuff?
Social media. Finally, like I said last time, I started my after you guys harassed me for 2 years, I started my own channel with Lord of the Rings Star Wars content there to follow. Not this year because I just moved and started a new job. Yes, I have a normal job besides this, and
wow, you're a normal human being.
I'm a normal human being, and check out if you're interested in Lord of the Rings. I do lore videos with a really, really deep dive, and if you're interested in that, especially of the time before the Lord of the Ring books, and I have every week 1 or 2 videos coming out. Next week I'll have a live stream and a podcast on Lord of the Rings, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So like style like here podcast with a friend. I'm talking Lord of the Rings. And yeah, if you want to check it out, the Clueless Fangirl on all social media.
This is the third podcast that we've had focused on the Mandalorian. I think we got to fit in a Rise of Skywalker in there one soon because
Yeah, we need to.
because there's been more trailers. There's been,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
some
my God,
more
the last
juicy.
duel,
Oh,
the duel fight. Oh my God, it was so good.
I know, John Williams. Oh my God. Yeah. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's going to be lots more Mandalorian content coming up. Like I said, Easter egg videos, episode reviews. Really, really excited for episode 9 too. Excited to see kind of how they cap that off. I'm really excited for the return of Palpy, Mr. Palpatine. But yeah, The Mandalorian has got me hyped. Of course, there's going to be The Witcher and Vikings and The Expanse that all come out next month. So busy month for the channel. But if you do want to see more Star Wars and Mandalorian content, I actually got a nice playlist on the channel, which I'll put in the description of this video and I have on the homepage of the channel. So thank you everyone for watching. Please let us know what your favorite moments were in The Mandalorian episode 4. We want to hear what you've been enjoying the most. Give us a rating on the episode and what you thought. And yeah, thanks for watching the podcast. How should we end this? This is the way, or I have spoken.
No, we need to say we have spoken.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We have spoken. No.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.